Quote Retreat by Sandor. One quote, one reflection, one thought that could bring a moment of light and energy to your day. Join me as we take a look at today's quote. The quote is by Agnes Irwin Repplier. Born 1855, died 1950. It reads, "It is not easy to find happiness within yourself, but it is impossible to find it elsewhere." Let's take a moment together to explore the messages within this quote. You know what's fascinating about happiness? Most people spend their whole lives searching for it externally, but there's this brilliant quote from 1800s writer Agnes Repplier that turns that idea completely upside down.
That's really intriguing. What's the quote?
She said, "It is not easy to find happiness within yourself, but it is impossible to find it elsewhere." And what makes this especially powerful is that she wasn't just writing pretty words. She actually lived this philosophy during a time when women were expected to find happiness solely through marriage and family.
Tell me more about how she developed this perspective. I mean, this was the Victorian era, right?
Exactly. Born in 1855 in Philadelphia, she came from a wealthy family that surprisingly encouraged her intellectual pursuits. You know what's really interesting? She received this incredible education at the convent of the Sacred Heart School, which was pretty revolutionary for women at that time.
Well, that must have set her apart from most women of her era. How did she use that education?
Oh my goodness, she ran with it. She started publishing in Atlantic Monthly and Harper's Magazine. We're talking the equivalent of getting regular features in today's New Yorker. But here's what's fascinating. She developed this unique writing style that combined serious intellectual analysis with wit and humor.
That's such an interesting combination for that time period. How did people respond to her work?
You know, she actually gained this huge following. She published these amazing collections like Books and Men and Americans and Others that tackled everything from literature to social criticism. But here's what's really wild. She was friends with Mark Twain and Henry James. Like, imagine those dinner conversations.
Speaking of her social life, I'm curious about how she structured her personal life, given her philosophy about internal happiness.
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. She never married, which was practically unheard of then, and instead created this incredible life centered around intellectual pursuit. She lived in this elegant Philadelphia townhouse where she'd host these amazing gatherings of writers and thinkers.
You know what strikes me about that? She was really walking the talk about finding happiness within herself.
Exactly right. And she did this while maintaining this fascinating balance between being a progressive intellectual and a devoted Catholic. She wrote extensively about how faith and reason could coexist, which was pretty groundbreaking for her time.
That must have required some serious internal strength to navigate those potentially conflicting identities.
Well, what's remarkable is how she maintained this consistency through such massive social changes. I mean, she lived through the Victorian era, 2 world wars, the women's suffrage movement, and into the atomic age. Yet her core message about happiness remained unchanged.
So how do you think she'd view our modern quest for happiness with all our self-help books and social media?
Oh, I think she'd have some pretty sharp observations about how we've turned happiness into a commodity. Like, imagine her reaction to Instagram influencers selling happiness through the perfect lifestyle post. She'd probably point out how we're looking for external validation in all the wrong places.
That's making me think about how her message might be even more relevant today than in her own time.
Absolutely right. And here's what's really powerful. She lived to be 95, staying intellectually engaged and writing until the end. She received an honorary doctorate from the University of Pennsylvania, which was a huge deal for a woman of her era. She basically proved that her philosophy about internal happiness could sustain a long, fulfilling life.
That's remarkable longevity, both physically and intellectually. What do you think contributed to that?
You know, I think it was this amazing balance she struck. She'd spend her mornings in solitude, writing and reflecting, then host these intellectual gatherings later in the day. She understood that meaningful connections were important, but they needed to be grounded in strong self-knowledge.
That sounds like something we could all learn from today.
Definitely. And here's what I think is the key takeaway. While finding happiness within ourselves isn't easy, as she said, it's the only real path to genuine fulfillment. In our world of constant external validation and comparison, maybe that's exactly the message we need to hear.
And she didn't just say it. She really lived it, didn't she?
That's exactly what makes her message so powerful. She showed that it's possible to live an unconventional life, true to your own values, and find genuine happiness along the way. In fact, I'd say her life stands as this amazing testament to the power of looking within rather than constantly seeking external validation.
With that, we conclude this exciting episode. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd appreciate a like and a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Your support truly helps this channel grow. See you again tomorrow. Yours, Sandor.